Just first want to say Happy Mother's Day. I know there's lots of moms in here, so Happy Mother's Day. And the first verse I wanted to open with is John 19:26 and 27. If the pastor, if you can read that.
John 19:26 and 27. And when Jesus therefore saw his mother and the disciples standing by, whom he loved, he said unto his mother, Woman, behold thy son. Then said he to the disciples, Behold thy mother. And from that hour that disciple took her unto his home.
Alright, so I use that verse kind of to just point out that a mom isn't always who you're born with.
Amen.
Jesus looked down from the cross and told his disciple, not his brother, nothing. It's his disciple told him, this is your mom. And from that day, it says from that day, the disciple took her into his home and treated her as his own. And then also there's Mary in that verse, which I wanted to look at her because she's kind of like the most predominant mom in the Bible. So I wanted to go back to when she was a young adult. And she was preparing for her wedding to Joseph. And then all of a sudden an angel came down and was like, I'm going to give you a son, and not just any son, son of God. And that's like, so she didn't have anything to go off of. She wasn't, ready. She wasn't getting ready to be a mom. She wasn't doing anything that would prepare her. She didn't have a book. She didn't know what to expect when she was expecting. She didn't know anything, but she was just thrown in, and God told her, you're going to be a mom, and this is your assignment. So before I even go into Mary and talk about her, I wanted to kind of tell you where my roots were for this message. And the inspiration I got for this message was from a while ago. My sister Mandalina was preaching about title versus a position. And to sum it up, basically, it's some people want like a title on their name or to be called a certain thing, but they don't want to do any of the work that's required to earn that title. For example, like if I wanted to be called like Dr. Christina, but I didn't want to go to medical school, it wouldn't really make sense. So that's where this kind of started, and I thought about it. And a title that I feel is thrown around, a title I feel is thrown around this, in our modern society is mother. It's, I noticed there's a real, I noticed there's a real difference between being a mother and being a mom and being someone who gives birth to a child. So I wanted to, explain the real difference between that. And to do that, I have a story from my life. When I was born, the lady who gave birth to me, basically, she didn't want anything to do with me. So since I was born, the pastor, she took me into her home. I'm her brother's daughter. And the lady who had given birth to me, she attempted to be part of my life for about the first 2 years. I went back and forth between homes. But about 2 years old, my mom decided, the pastor, decided that, her name's Kathy. She didn't want to change how she was. She didn't want to differentiate from her path she was going on. So if you're all here in Bible study, she talks about soul ties. So she didn't think it was a healthy soul tie for me to have. So we broke ties. Sorry. So then I grew up with the pastor, and I grew up in church. When I was about 10 years old, I was in church. We always sit in the front row, so I was sitting there, getting prepared for the service, and this lady walks up to me, and she's like, "Hi, Christina, how are you doing?" And I'm like, "Good." I'm used to people just randomly walking up to me. I don't have to know who they are, but it's our job to talk to them, so I say, "Hi, how are you doing?" And I'm like, "I'm good." She's like, "Oh, it's been forever since I've seen you." And I was like, "Oh, I don't know who you are, but I guess you knew me, because seems like everybody does." So then the pastor comes over to her and is like, "Hi, how are you?" And they talk for a second, and then the pastor looked at me and said, "You know who that is?" And I said, "No, I don't know." And it was my birth lady, Kathy. And she was offended because I didn't know who she was, so she was hurt. But the thing is, I never understood that because she didn't want to be there for me. She didn't want to do anything in my life to make her my mom. To make her my mom, but she wanted to have that title, even though she didn't want to do the work to have that position. She didn't do the simple things in life that make you a mom, which is like when your kids fall down, you pick them up, you change their diapers, you stay up all night when they won't stop crying, just general things like being there. I mean, she didn't want to do any of that. But on the other hand, I had an amazing lady, the pastor. I don't know if you knew where we lived before, but we lived in Sonoma County, and I was born in Merced County. I was born, and she drove 6 hours to come get me, even though she already had 3 kids of her own, and my 2 older sisters at home already. Sorry. She came and got me because it was in her heart to be a mom. It was in her heart to shelter a child that had nothing, no real responsibility to her. So she did everything to be a mom. All those nights of crying. She said I was a smart kid, but I was a troublemaker. I used to hold my breath until I'd turn blue, and she'd give me what I want until one day she called the doctor and was like, "What is my child doing?" And they said, "Just let her pass out, and then she'll be fine." And I guess I learned from that. So she did everything that required of being a mom. But that isn't, in my definition, what makes you a mother. So what makes you a mother is teaching your kids about God. A mom cares about your flesh, how your flesh is feeling, everything about your flesh, your arms being scratched, anything your mom cares about. But your mother cares about your soul and your eternal destiny and where you're going to end up. So this brings me back to Mary. She wasn't expecting a kid. She wasn't ready for a kid. But God gave her an assignment. And when she got the assignment, she took it. It's a crazy assignment because you have to raise the Son of God and teach him about God. And that's, wow. She had to raise him in a way that wouldn't stunt his potential of what he's grown to be. And I feel like a lot of people look at Mary and it's like, wow, how can she do that kind of thing? That's amazing. That's something I'd never be able to do. How could we do that? But it is something you have to do. We have to raise the children of God. These children that we have are not our kids. They're God's kids that we're just raising to teach them about their Father so that they have an eternal destiny with him. Amen. So that's basically all we have to do as mothers is raise our kids so that they'll end up with him. And in doing that, we have to raise them by the teachings of the Bible. And it's something that we have to do something that this modern day society frowns upon. And that's disciplining our kids. People don't seem to like to do that anymore. I've noticed my generation has been called the worst generation. I don't know why, but so I just want to talk about disciplining your kids for a second. So I want to go to Deuteronomy 18 and 21 through 21. Deuteronomy 21, 18 to 21.
When if a man have a stubborn and rebellious son, which will not obey the voice of his father or that voice of his mother, and that when they have chastened him will not hearken unto them, then shall his father and his mother lay hold on him, and bring him out unto the elders of the city, and unto the gates of his place. And they shall say unto the elders of his city, This is our son. He's stubborn and rebellious. He will not obey our voice. He's a glutton and a drunkard. And all the men of this city shall stone him with stones, and he die. So shalt thou put evil away from among you, and all Israel shall hear and fear.
Thank you. So, in the Bible, it's better that your child be killed and die rather than have them grow up undisciplined and ruin everybody else in the village. So that also brings me to Proverbs 13:24. You can write it down. I'm just going to read it real quick. It says, He that spareth the rod hateth his son, but he that loveth him chasten him betimes. So I looked up at times what it means, and it means before, like early. It means that you're supposed to discipline your kids before they do something, not after the fact. America is a very after the fact type of place that we live in. They always wait till something happens and then correct that. But it says in the Bible you're supposed to correct it before it happens. So out of this verse came spare the rod, spoil the child. And my whole time growing up, I didn't know what that meant. I thought spare the rod, spoil the child was, don't beat your kids, spoil them instead. That was my thought of what it meant. So I was like, cool, that's the Bible says that? Amen, hallelujah. I was okay with that. But it wasn't until, I'm going to tell you another story, but it wasn't until this happened that I really understood what it meant. So, when I was, my family used to live together in a house in Sonoma County, and everyone lived together. So one morning I came down to make myself breakfast because I had to go to school, and I poured my cereal, and I got the milk out of the fridge. I always smell it first, so I smelled it. It smelled gross, so I poured a little bit to taste test it, and it was disgusting. So of course, right, in a natural mind, I put it back in the fridge. I don't know why. I might have been in a hurry, but I put it back. So then I left to go to school. Didn't tell anyone in my family that I had put it back and it was gross. I just left. Later that day, my brother Bubba comes down and he makes himself cereal. He's also in a rush, pours the milk in, eats the cereal, and he goes back to get dressed for work. My brother Bubba has a very weak stomach. So the rest of that day, he was practically throwing up his stomach. He was so sick, he had to call in sick to work. And if you really know my brother, he doesn't do that. He's missed probably 2 days in the 20 years of working he's done. So he never does that. So it wasn't until this happened that I really learned, what I did by looking at something and realizing it was no good and putting it back where it didn't go. I put it back in the fridge. When you look at a fridge, it's someplace that they made it because it protects your food. The fridge is made so that food will last longer. So I put it back in a place that symbolizes something that lasts. And I put the rotten food into it. Amen. And my brother took out of it, drank it, and became sick. So my simple action of putting something back where it didn't belong got my brother in trouble and could potentially have gotten the rest of my family in trouble. So I heard a thing recently that was those who criticize our generation forget who raised it. And to me it really means, it's people, parents who look on our generation as like, man, where did we go wrong? We're raising up, where did these kids come from? We raised them. We should know where they come from because we put them there. And another thing I hear all the time is people shaming Obama because he took prayer out of schools. And everybody's, shame on him, shame on the Obama administration. They took prayer out of schools. They're such horrible people. And then I talk to those people, and they don't even remember the last time they prayed. Their kids don't even know how to pray. So the way I look at it is Obama didn't take anything. He just removed what nobody was using. Sorry.
Go ahead, preach.
So, in my life, the best example I have of a mom and a mother is my own mother. She's raised us to the dot of what the Bible says. She raised us. One thing that I really notice a lot of people struggle with is she raised us to fellowship with other believers, which means we go to church consistently and we do what the church does. I've missed 6 church things in my life, meaning that's like Sundays, Wednesdays, church events, church in the park, church in anywhere else. I went to recovery nights. I've never been addicted to anything, but I went because that's what she told me to do. I lived next door to the church. I was there every single day. I had to mow the lawn. So I was there all the time. That's all I remember. And a person asked me the other day. They came into the outreach center where I work right now. They came and they were like, well, I don't know if I could come to church this Sunday. He goes, you don't go to church every Sunday. You know what I mean? No, I have no idea what you mean. I go to church every Sunday. But, so, I don't know how to transition this, so I'm just going to go to the next one. My sister, she looks really young, so you probably can't even tell. There's actually like a 9-year difference between us. Sorry to throw you out, but there's actually 9 years. My older sister's 10 years, my brother's 8 years, so there's a huge gap between us. So I feel like the way my mom raised them was slightly different than where she raised me, because as she got older, she got less of the rod of correction towards me. And you can literally ask any of my siblings. They'll be so glad to come up here and tell you how I didn't get the rod of correction. They will run up here at the chance. But so I feel like in that less of a rod of correction, as I'm trying to call it, I got less disciplined and less disciplined of myself. And in the way of my speech is what I notice is most affected. Like, I can't control it. I say stuff sarcastically and rudely, even though, well, let me say it like this. I'll do anything my mom tells me to do. As most of you know, it gets in the way of kind of when you guys are trying to do something, I have to do what she tells me to do. So if she tells me to take this, so she tells me to take a rock from over here and move it over there, that's what I'll do. It's pointless because the rock was over there. It was fine over there, but it has to be over here because she said it has to be over here. But I won't do it just because she told me to do it. I'll do it, but I'll be like, ugh. This rock is so heavy. Why, you have 2 arms? Why can't you move the rock? But I say some of this, not that stuff, because I'll get in trouble. But I'll say this like, oh gosh, I can't do this. Why do I have to do everything? But it's pointless for me to say, because it's not like I'm not going to do it. I still have to do it, but I just can't control my mouth while I'm doing it. And which it seems to me it's completely stupid because there's no effect. When I was practicing for this, I was like, oh well, my mom when I do something, I have to have like a dialogue. And then I thought about it, and a dialogue involves 2 people. There is no 2 people. It's me talking out loud to nobody because she's not listening. So it's and I realized as I really looked that my speech is like a seed, and every time I say something I can't control and I plants a seed in our heart, and that seed grows. And when I originally thought of it, I thought of it as a wall, but there's not really like a wall between me and my mom. It's more like a branch that branches off to where, sometimes you just don't even want to ask your kid to do something because it's so much involved in it. And she'll end up hurting herself in order not to ask me to do something because she doesn't want to hear it. And I was like, okay, well, that's a bad thing. But the worst part is I put that seed in me. I validate that seed in me that it's okay to say something like that to my mom. And that seed plants a seed in my heart, and that has a branch that potentially stems off into my child. So, so in the Bible, they talk in Matthew 12:33. I'll just turn there real quick. Okay, so it says, either make the tree good and its fruit good, or else make the tree corrupt and its fruit corrupt, for the tree is known by its fruit. That's right. Pretty simple. Your kids are you. They're a direct reflection of you. If there's something you see in your kid you don't like, he probably got it from you. They probably got it from you. I know it's something most people don't want to hear, but that's what it is. From the general part of our life, we spend most of our life with our parents. So you're basically what we feed off of. So in this speech thing, I learned that my child is affected by what I do. That's where I was. Okay. So if you smoke, generally your child will smoke. If you drink, generally your child will drink. If you curse, generally your child will curse. But on the other side of that, if you if you're honest, your child generally be honest. If you honor your father and mother, your child generally will. And that's another thing I want to talk about is honoring your father and mother. It says it over and over in the Bible, and I just wanted to have I just need 4 people to volunteer to read a verse for me, if you can.
Okay, Exodus 20, verse 12. Honor your father and your mother, that your days may be long upon the land which the Lord your God is giving you.
Thank you. All right, and then Matthew 15:4.
Matthew 15:4, for God commanded, saying, honor thy father and mother, and he that curses father or mother, let him die the death.
All right, Matthew 19:19.
Honor your father and your mother, and you shall love your neighbor as yourself.
Thank you. And then Ephesians 6:1-3.
Children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. Honor thy father and mother, which is the first commandment with promise, that it may be well with their and thou mayest live long on the earth.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So it says honor your father and mother. Those were just 4. It says it 9 times. So in the way the pastor taught me is numbers mean something. So I went and looked it up what 9 meant. And 9 means finality. That means he said it 9 times, wasn't an accident, 9 times, done, no questions asked. So it was clear, honor thy father and mother, honor thy father and mother. So that means if you really look at the verse, it means that if you as parents aren't making your kids honor you, then you're killing them. You're literally, like it said in Proverbs 13:4, it says you hate your kid. You hate them. If you can't tell them to honor you and you don't hold them up to that standard, you're telling them that you hate them. And I know that parents nowadays, they don't, you don't want to discipline your kid. You don't want to see them hurt. It's not something that we all want. So I have a verse for that. It says in Hebrews 12, verse 11, Now no chastening for the present seemeth to be joyous, but grievous. Nevertheless, afterward it yieldeth the peaceable fruit of righteousness unto them which are exercised thereby. It's simple. It doesn't feel good while you're doing it. It doesn't feel good as the parent to hurt your kid. It doesn't feel good. I can completely attest. It doesn't feel good as the kid to get disciplined. I hate it. I don't want anybody to tell me I'm doing something wrong. I mean, I'm a kid. I don't like it. But it's not about, as a mother, it's not about what right now will bring. It's about where your kid can end up.
Amen.
What I just wanna kind of give a scenario. So you're a mom. You raise your kid, or you don't want to discipline your kid, right? So you raise them. You don't raise them to the standard of the Bible. You don't discipline them. So you die and you go to heaven, but you leave your kid here. You leave your kid who hasn't been to church in 15 years because every baseball, soccer, football, badminton game has ended up on Sunday, and so you can't bring them. So they don't end up with the word, so that they end up in hell. And that's it. And I don't know how, I don't know what feelings you'll have in heaven, but look down from heaven and see your kid being tortured and killed and skin ripped off and burning, and look at them, and all you had to do was discipline them, and they could have ended up better. Just bring them to where they need to be, and they could have ended up in a better place in heaven with you. So, sorry, I get emotional because I really reflect on my own life. And, I don't know, I haven't known many people in here very long, but if you do actually know me, you know that I already have a name picked out for my son, my first son. I don't know why. His name's Gabriel. I knew that since I was 4 years old. I wanted to be Gabriel, which means messenger of God. I thought that was a great name. I even couple weeks ago, downloaded a baby app trying to figure out his middle name. I'm not even married, so I don't know. I don't know where this is coming from, but I've always craved a mother. I've always craved being a mom. And it's been something so exciting to have, like, you know, the most little handsome thing in the world to be given to me, and it always seemed like the coolest possible thing. And in making this message and writing it, you know, you really have to first start with yourself before you can start telling other people how to do stuff. So I reflected on myself, and I really had to think about, you know, from God's position, to look on me and, you know, say, you want me to give you a son. You want me to name him Gabriel, which means messenger of God. And what you have to offer him is someone who doesn't, you know, discipline their mouth, someone who doesn't tell themselves, you know, certain TV shows or certain movies is not okay to watch. You know, I look away when it has a bad scene, but it doesn't mean it goes away. It's still there coming into my mind. I can still hear what's happening. I can fast forward, but fast forward recalls peaking, and so it's still coming in. And I allow that in, and I don't discipline myself to say that's no good. And just think, if my kid was sitting there, I'm looking away, but they're 1 year old. We always think, oh, they're too young to know what's happening, but that's all that they're looking at it. It's coming in. I recently watched a whole bunch of conspiracy theory videos, and a lot of them had to do with your kids' movies and the subliminal messaging in them. And I didn't understand. I wanted to know why people would think, you know, they'd put kind of stuff in kids' movies. And it's because kids it's seeds that are planting into our kids, and they'll grow up with that. So many movies from when I was younger had so much, like, subliminal messaging, which you don't notice when you're a kid. You just see it and you're, oh, ha, ha, ha. But when you get older, that seed is in you. My generation is such I don't know how else to say this, but such a sexual generation. They have no boundaries of their sexuality. There's no man and woman. There's man, something, woman, something else. There's so many things nowadays that people don't even know who they are anymore. Sorry. So I realized in that it's not a mother's job to just tell your kids to do stuff. It's not your job to say, or it is your job to tell them, but it's also your job to do it. It's your job to lead them by example. You can't, that's why they created monkey see, monkey do. Whatever they see you doing, it's what they'll do. Even if you tell them, you know, do as I say, not as I do. That makes no sense. I'm going to do as you do because that's what I do. That's it. So before I close, I wanted the pastor to read a verse. It's John 14:26. So people often say, you know, I'm not ready. I don't know how to be a mom. I don't know what to do. So that's why I was trying to explain the different levels of being a mom. But I just want to say, if you don't understand and you really just don't know how to go about this, there's only one place that you can really look, and that's in Jesus Christ and in the Comforter, which is the verse she's about to read.
But the Comforter, which is the Holy Ghost, whom the Father will send in my name, he shall teach you all things and bring all things to your remembrance, whatsoever I have said unto you.
There you go. If you don't understand, look to the Comforter. Plain and simple. So I'm not a speech writer or anything, so I didn't know how to close. So I thought in closing, I just wanted to challenge, first of all, the kids in here to really show your parents respect, and to even if they don't require it of you, make them require it. Show them what it's like to have respect, and then build off that. And I can guarantee your relationship with your parents will get better. And then I also wanted to challenge the moms in here to realize that it's not just a child that God sent to you. It's a soul. And that soul will end up somewhere eternally. It's not a minute. It's not they'll be tortured for a little bit of time and then they go to heaven. They're there forever. And there's no guarantee. I hate to say this. I hate to, but there's no guarantee your kids will be here tomorrow. So you have to teach them today to prepare them for where they're going to go, because there's no second chances here. You get one shot, and you get one kid. And that's it. During the service of the pastor.